Hey everyone, and welcome to Elsewhere in the Multiverse. I am Peter, I'm joined by Connor.
Yes, you are.
And this is a comic book podcast. We talk about comic books, not DC Comics, because we have a DC Comics podcast called Comics from the Multiverse, which we started a long time ago. This is where me and Connor talk about other books we're reading, a lot of which come from Marvel, some come from Image, Dark Horse, IDW, Boom, so on, so on. So that is kind of what we do here. Coming up on this show, although before I should even give you this list, I should actually make something clear. So last week we started a new thing where we split the show in half, and we said at the time it was for YouTube, and the audio version would still be one part. Here's the thing though, it occurred to us in the week since, and we're kind of idiots for not thinking of this when we decided to do this in the first place, but in the past sometimes the audio version's been split in two because of length, because there's a size limit on what we can upload, and it kind of dawned on me that maybe the audio should just follow the format of the video and get it in two halves, because then if we have to have it for length anyway, it's already halved, and therefore it should never actually have to be a problem anymore, because it's always going to be a half episode as opposed to a full episode. So this week, despite what I said last week, you're getting this in two chunks on the audio now as well. Now this week we're actually quite late with the first half because of delays. However, going forward, you should get the first half of the show either by the weekend or at the start of the weekend.
Yes.
So yeah, that is the plan.
Losing that Wednesday last week knocked us back. Usually we'll be starting, our stuff for the week on the Wednesday when the new books come out, so, to be ready for the weekend.
Yeah, so it'll be like Friday night, early Saturday when the first half goes up, usually. This week's kind of weird because the second half will be like a couple of days, if that, after the first half. But just bear with us. So coming up on this show, coming up on episode 15A, we have War of the Realms Journey into Mystery issue 1. We have X-23 number 11. We have Symbiote Spider-Man issue 1, Amazing Spider-Man issue 19, Captain Marvel number 4, and Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue 5. Why we did Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man after Captain Marvel and not had all the Spider-Man books in a chunk, I don't know.
The worst part is, we actually spoke, we'll do a Spider-Man section. And then because they happen to be over two different recording sections, we just forgot.
Yep, that's pretty much it. So that's the books that come up in the first half. The second half will, or at least should, have solicits in it, along with another batch of books. So you can look forward to that. But that's what's coming up on this first half of the show. So without further ado, let's talk about this week's comics. First up this week then, we have Journey into Mystery, War of the Realms Journey into Mystery, issue 1, which is the first miniseries, the first tie-in of the event that we're doing. So I actually didn't even look. I opened this book up, and it's written by the McElroys and art by André, Lima, Araújo, and I'm like, I had no idea that who was doing this, because I don't even recognize these days.
Yeah, the McElroys are podcasters.
Really?
Yes. They've got, I think it's called The Adventure Zone, I want to say it's called, is their podcast.
Really? Is it a scripted podcast?
I think so.
Yeah, that makes more sense then.
I may be misremembering, but that last episode of Twilight Zone, or episode 2, I think the guy on the podcast was one of these.
Ah, okay.
If I'm remembering right. Which I may not be, admittedly. I'm going to go to quickly double check while you talk about what the book is.
Okay, so yeah, again, I didn't really know much about what the plot of this book was either. It turns out Balder the Brave has been tasked with protecting Thor's baby sister, and he's taken Thori, Thor's dog, and recruited a bunch of heroes. But of course, he's been in hell for a while, so when he was told to go get Hawkeye, he ended up with Kate Bishop, not knowing that there was a new Hawkeye. He meets Spider-Man. He thinks it's Peter Parker Spider-Man. No, I don't know if he knows what his name is, but he thinks it's the original Spider-Man. And it's like, no, it's Miles.
It's Miles, yeah.
And ends up with Wonder Man. Ends up with not Doctor Strange. It's this other dude that I don't know.
Yeah, I don't recognize all of these, obviously, and not Deathlock.
Yeah, so the book goes back and forth in timeline. It starts off with the action scene. They're in our RV. They're being chased by the forces of whoever, right? At the end of the book, it turns out Ares is the main guy chasing them, but we don't know that till the end of the book. And the book has a lot of banter back and forth, and basically we keep cutting back to kind of set up what we are. So we get a flashback of Balder finding out about his kid sister. we get a flashback of him meeting Spider-Man, then we get basically a flashback for recruiting each one of the team. And then the book, draws to a close with them thinking, because Wonder Man's got this new pacifist attitude, doesn't want to hurt anyone, but at the end of the book he takes out part of the road. He's like, oh hey, well you didn't hurt anyone and they can't follow us, and then Avery steps out, and that's the big cliffhanger. So did you like this book? Did you like the issue?
I did. I liked it a lot, actually.
I have to say I also liked it. I was kind of, because I saw the names, I never recognized them, and usually I'm just like, this is such a wild card, this could be terrible, I have no idea, I have nothing to base this on. And then, and it's a bit wordy because it's a lot of fast banter back and forth, which I do like when the banter's fun. But
it does fit in with these characters, though.
It does, it absolutely does. But it's worrying because if the dialogue isn't good,
it's a chore.
It's a pain to get through. But after a few pages, I start to get comfortable with it. I think it was maybe after the first flashback, when it came back to them again in the RV, where I really felt like the flow was starting to pop, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm actually kind of digging this. And it helps that I like Kate a lot, it helps that I like Miles a lot. Thor's a pretty fun character, so,
I was really into this. Like I say, I was surprised, because you see these names, and I'm like, okay, the podcast, not that guy, actually. It was a slightly different name that I misremembered. But go on.
What's funny to me is that I forgot what I was going to say because you stalled me. It's your fault.
God damn it. That was as quick as possible. I gave way.
Tough. Just don't interrupt me. That's the lesson.
You were interrupting me. I was talking, and then you started wagging your finger like you wanted to say something. And I thought, all right, then I'll let you say it. And then you didn't have it ready to say.
Well, be quicker.
God damn it.
Be quicker. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So, at one point when they go to see get Deathlock and they end up with Deathlock 2.0, she's with, like, what appears to be Black Widow, and I'm like, why is Black Widow at a kid's birthday party? Why is she not helping in New York or, somewhere else, because there's a whole war going on? So I was very glad when that turned out to be an LMD.
Yeah. And then there's other people in the masks, like you got the Wolverine.
Yeah, with a really weird meta reference to him saying that my boyfriend thinks I look like Jackman, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, I'm gonna slide because this is fun.
Sure. So no, Roz is in there a little bit. She kind of helps them at the start of their quest.
Yeah. This is one of those tie-ins that's very tangentially related. It only exists because it takes place during that story, right? And it's an excuse to give, some fresh writers, here, do 3 issues, show us what you've got. That's typically how the business side of it is looking at this.
I think this is 1 of 5 though.
Is this 5? Okay, fair enough.
Let me go back to the start. Hold on, I'm sure it's.
You could be right. I'm
sure I read that. That's not on the cover. Where did I read that? Maybe I'm completely wrong.
I'm not entirely sure. Sorry. You could be right though. It could be 1 of 5. This could be a longer one than the others that are mostly 3 issues. I think.
Maybe I'm mad. I thought I read it on the cover, but it doesn't say that on the cover at all.
No, it doesn't.
So I don't know where I'm getting this from. It may just be 3.
Yeah, but from a business side of things, they're going, right, okay, we've got a good excuse to give them a short run on something. Mm-hmm. It's bound to sell at least a minimum amount because it's an event tie-in, and they can judge the reception and whether or not they want to give them more work in the future. It's a very safe way of doing that. But also, it stands on its own. I don't think, weirdly, you don't actually need to have been have read any of the War of the Realms, that first issue to get this. It's just, really. Okay, shit's going down. Here's a fun new team thrown together, basically.
Yeah, the only issue with the main book might be that you go back to that and it's like, where's Balder? Why is Balder not with everyone else when all this fighting's going on?
Sure.
That's basically the only thing that affects the main book, really. But so far it's fun. I like the characters, some more than others, of course, because there's some that I don't know that much yet, but it's working. And I think starting off with this simple action scene of just being on the run in the RV and having them like bicker with each other about what to do, and Kate complaining that she's the only one who can drive, so she can't go back and help with the combat. It's just fun. Like I was into it. So I was really ready to want to hate this just because I'm like, I want to be able to just not read as many of these tie-ins as possible because they just inflate like how much I have to read. But
But you want to read more of this one.
Yeah, I kind of like this one, and then
Yeah.
So
like that flashback of Kate serving the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I was really like, this is great stuff.
And when we say serving, we mean serving him a legal notice.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you just got served back there when I was fighting you. See, that's fun wordplay.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, this sounds like Kate.
Yeah, it does. It does sound like Kate. So
I'm into it. Yeah, god damn it.
Yeah, first tie-in's good. Because I was opening the book and I was like, oh, I'm expecting to be this either to be the one that's written by Aaron or the one that's written by Taylor or whatever. Because I knew they were writing at least one each, but it was like, I don't know who these people are. What's going on? And then it was good. Damn it.
Yeah, because the Aaron one is almost certainly being kept, right? Because that same writer, those ones are usually not essential, but recommended reading.
Probably. It depends how deep into the mythology is. It could be too.
It could be. As I said, usually though, in an event when you have the creator also doing a side thing, those are usually recommended.
Oh, I just meant for me in a taste level. Like if it's too much deep Asgard shit, I'm just going, whatever. I don't care.
Okay, fair enough. Usually the ones like this are not recommended reading, and this still isn't necessarily recommended as a, okay, you need to read this to if you're reading War of the Realms, but you probably should be, because it's quite damn good.
It's better than issue 1 of War of the Realms.
No, it's not.
It's
not that good.
It is. It's better than issue 1 of War of the Realms.
Jesus Christ.
I'm saying it. I had more fun with this.
I didn't. And I really like this, but I didn't have more fun with
War of the Realms was fine, don't get me wrong. It was fun, but this had more personality, I thought.
Fair enough.
So, I don't know. Call it what you will, but that's War of the Realms Journey into Mystery issue 1. What we rating it?
I gave an 8.5, which I also gave War of the Realms issue 1, but this is just a slightly lower 8.5. It's just underneath. It's still very good.
I'll give it a solid 8 out of 10, which is, I think, 0.5 higher than what I gave.
I think it is, yeah.
War of the Realms. It's good. And the art was fine as well. I mean, it wasn't like blowing me away with its...
It wasn't standout. I thought the action sequences looked really good. All the stuff in the cars looked good. And I really like the Ares at the end, that splash page. I thought that was quite a good image.
There was good momentum in the action scenes.
Yeah.
When it got to just like them standing around talking in the flashbacks is where it maybe suffered the most of just being kind of, static. Whenever there was movement, because even when like Kate was jumping around and stuff in her flashback, it was like, okay, this is kind of what this art is excelling at.
Yeah.
So,
but that very first panel with the RV and the flames is one of the best looking panels in the book. In terms of just the motion, the action.
Why wouldn't you start strong?
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense. So that'll take us on to X23 issue 11. Which is written by Mariko Tamaki with art by Diego Olortegui. I've said that differently every single time I've said it.
Every time, and none of them are probably right.
Yes, none of them. Not one. So this issue starts with a sort of the end of the story kind of thing. Like Laura is like narrating to herself as if she's talking to Gabby, and then it cuts back to see why she's so sad. And basically, they broke into a building. They've been gathering data on other like places that might link to clones and stuff like that, which of course Laura's wanting to put a stop to, because it's cruel and morally wrong and every other reason. I mean, it's personal, of course, as well. But
yeah.
So they go in, and Gabby's been kind of in a humph about it. She's not really happy that they're doing this. And
she's bored of this.
Yeah,
data gathering part.
And then, some soldiers show up. They have a big fight scene. There's a
fantastic double page fight.
That 2-page layout is great. With them just fighting everything. The fighting in this book's always been good, to be fair.
It has. This is my favorite in a while, though. Out of the sequences we've had, the double page spreads, fight sequences that this book typically does, maybe once per issue, once every other issue at most. This is my favorite, I think, in the last 5 or 6 of them. Yeah, in fact,
the smugness at the end is maybe the only time Gabby feels like her old self in this book, and that's not a critique of the book, because the whole point is she is acting out of character because she's not feeling good. I mean, it's intentional. But basically, Gabby doesn't want to keep doing this. She wants to, like, she smells other clones that are leaving in trucks, and she, like, smashes the window, even though Laura's, like, ready to just not bother. And basically, this all comes from Laura's made this decision to try and put a stop to all clones so that none can ever happen again. And Gabby doesn't agree with that because she believes that any future clones could be like them. It could be like her. And
it's what if Laura had made that decision before, right? Or, then would Laura just put her down, essentially?
Yeah, and we know. I mean, Laura's logic is sound because Chandler even said that he's designing the new ones to have a life expectancy that's too short. They can't have full lives.
He's giving them the iPhone treatment.
I would have said the replicant treatment, but okay, sure, if you want.
I just wanted to make a dig at Apple.
That's fair. So it basically gets to this fight. It's a gorgeous 2-page spread where Gabby finally kind of says what she's feeling, and that's kind of why it's a great 2-page spread, because it's just this big 2-page layout of them screaming at each other,
of them shouting,
side by side.
It's unusual to have a 2-page spread dedicated to something so relatively sparse.
Yeah, it's a really simple, clean image of them just screaming at each other, sort of facing directly towards each other. And the speech bubble from Gabby is literally her saying the problem she has. I'll read the exact thing here. You just decided we need no more clones, which is obviously a reference to No More Mutants. You didn't even ask me because you don't care what I think. You just like to boss me around. So this is bubbled up, and you feel the emotion. It does a really neat job of, like, crescendoing to this page, and then this page kind of lets it unleash. Good art there as well. And basically it becomes I'm going to leave then. So Gabby packs her things, she takes Jonathan, and she leaves, and Laura's left.
And Laura's awkward and annoying and doesn't try and stop her because she's like, fine, go on then.
Yeah. It's classic sister nonsense, basically.
Pretty much.
So she's basically, I don't know what to do. Like, I've been trained to survive, I've been trained to fight, I've been trained to do all these things, but I don't know how to be a sister. I don't know how to be a family member.
Yeah.
It's not in my training. To quote Steven Seagal from the hit film Under Siege 2, Dark Territory, I wasn't trained for this.
Well, that got more obscure than I was expecting.
And then the terrorists take control of the train, and he goes out of the kitchen and he beats the shit out of like 5 terrorists and kills them all with his bare hands. And then he just sort of like sighs and goes, "This I'm trained for."
Sounds like a Steven Seagal movie.
One of his best.
Yeah, I'm sure.
One of his best.
It's not a high bar.
It's not, admittedly, but one of his best. No, I like this issue a lot.
Oh, me too. This is great. This is really great.
It had a really neat thing of, like, setting this somber tone at the start with the bit from the end, and you kind of have this feeling in the pit of your stomach, or where's this going? What's happened? What's bad? Because you're worried that there's something bad happened to Gabby.
I really like in the first couple of panels, she's saying, "Oh, you're never going to read this because I'm not actually writing it down. I'm just thinking it to myself, talking to myself." And I'm like, okay, that's that sets the tone.
It does. So you've got this, like, bad feeling of, like, oh god, what's happened, and it is this fight, but by the time they get to the point where they're yelling at each other, it's been building, gradually over the issue. So, and that's why I think that 2-page spread is so effective, because it finally gets it out in the open, literally. It's like, no, everything's been, like, really, like, compartmentalized, everything's been shut off, and now it just all unleashes, and that's why you have the 2-page spread. And even though I love the 2-page layout with all the little boxes for the fighting, right, where it goes to, because it's a really well paced page.
Yeah, it's like a top line of things, a middle strip, like one single bar panel, and then another bottom line.
It basically, to put it in filmmaking terminology, it's a lot of close-ups and then one big wide panoramic shot, and then it goes back to all the little close-ups.
Yeah, and it's got these little interjected with the smaller boxes of them sniffing and smelling. Well, we don't know at the time what it exactly is, but something.
And then but the emotion of the 2-page from later with them screaming is kind of
tops it
even more meaningful, because it has the heart behind it. So
yeah, definitely.
No, really good. So we end in this really down place where Gabby's off on her own. So we're going to have this arc where she's out on her own, and so we'll see what happens. She's with Jonathan. Yeah. So X-23
Jonathan's got a pack.
Is a consistent book, of course, that we always seem to really sing the praises of. But sure enough, it is reliable again, and I continue to look forward to the next issue. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah, and So there you go. That's X23. Oh, what are you giving it?
Yeah. We're starting strong this week. It's another 8.5 from me.
I'm gonna go with a 9.
Oh damn. Okay.
I'll give it a 9. I think for what this issue was trying to do for the characters, it nailed it. I mean, yeah.
Funnily enough, between the two books, then we have averaged out bang on 8.5 between us for the two books combined.
That's convoluted math, but sure. I don't know why that matters, but sure.
I'm just, we're 2 for 2.
Okay. That's true. Well, because we record these in parts now, we don't know what the next one is going to be yet in terms of rating. Like, we don't know how we feel about it yet. We've not read the next one, so
no, we haven't. It'll be a surprise.
So, we'll find out how Symbiote
drags the show down.
Yeah, well, Symbiote Spider-Man issue 1 keep this trend going.
I may have read it already.
You read it already?
I may have read that one out of morbid curiosity.
Well, I haven't yet, so I don't know how it's going to go, but we'll find out in the next review, which for you at home will be magically in 3, 2, 1. Well, that'll take us on then to the number 1 we've got this week, which is Symbiote Spider-Man issue 1, written by Peter David. This is good news.
Yeah, we like Peter David.
Art by Greg Land.
Yeah.
Not so good news. So this is set, just after Secret Wars, the original Secret Wars in the 80s.
Which threw me off because I didn't realise that.
Oh, you didn't realise there was a Secret Wars before the last one?
No. I didn't realise that this is when this was set. I didn't read the solicit closely enough, clearly.
Ah, okay.
I figured it was just doing something. I didn't realise, oh no, we're just being set then.
Oh yeah, it's just set then. And I mean, the art, like, immediately Spider-Man looks a little bit off, but it's not too bad. And I think the reason why it looks not too bad is because you've got a fishbowl and then you've got a mask. You're not dealing with faces. You're not dealing with faces yet.
Yeah.
And then, and then you get to the scene at the bar with Mysterio and his buddy talking. Although that's not even the worst of it. The worst of it's later when Peter's talking to Felicia and Peter's like waking up.
Yeah,
from
I was
bed.
going to say that bit there. I would still say is among the better half of Greg Land's works that I've read. It's not as bad as I've seen.
Oh yeah, because even the stuff in the bank with the woman who ends up getting killed, like, that's not too bad. It's not too bad. And then you get to Peter waking up, and his face just looks monstrous. Like, I don't even know what. It looks awkward because it's clearly based on a pose.
Yeah.
I'm putting that as politely as I can. So, I mean, it plays with its setting a little bit. I mean, there's a scene on top of the World Trade Center, which I did not see coming.
Bold move.
I was genuinely surprised when I turned that page and he was jumping between the two towers. I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
If we're doing that. So the plot of the book is that Mysterio accidentally got a bank teller killed. He didn't actually want to hurt anyone. He knocked everyone out, but he kept her awake so she could let him into the vault and so on. But then the guard who didn't get knocked out ends up accidentally shooting her, so he blames himself. So it's kind of a sympathetic villain story in that sense. He's clearly, we see him in an alleyway like crying to himself. Peter sees him at the graveyard. He sees him at the grave of this woman, and because he's there, checking on Ben, Uncle Ben's anniversary, as he does. Jenny goes home and has a nice breaks at the box of Uncle Ben's, has a nice dose of rice.
Ooh, I've got a sachet of that microwave Uncle Ben's.
That's not that great.
Oh no. Special fried rice, bit of soy sauce. That'll be an excellent snack when we're done.
I love rice, but those microwave bags ain't so hot.
Oh no, you're not on their own, but you got to spice them up with something. But good little snack.
Okay. So yeah, that's basically it. Spider-Man like chases him. They have a bit of a fight, and yeah,
that is about it.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose. Felicia and Peter's faces during those bedroom scenes are just
rough,
off-putting.
Yeah.
She's got a surprise face when she says, "Holy cow! What the hell is that thing? Is it alive?" When she sees the symbiote suit, form on Peter. The face, she literally looks like a blow-up doll. But that is the pose.
It is. Yeah, it really is. With the lips and everything.
Like, because I don't know if Landis specifically been proven to trace porn. He's definitely been caught tracing things specifically. I don't know if porn's one of them, but I can definitely believe it looking at that, because you can imagine something in her mouth there. Let's just look at that panel.
No, I'm with you. I mean, it's one of those things where if you're using referencing work, I don't really care what you're referencing from if it looks fine in the story.
This does not.
It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't. No.
No.
Like if he happened to find a shot in a porn where it's like, do you know what? That works for this scene, and I'm going to reference from that. Go ahead.
There's referencing, then there's tracing. There's differences.
There is a difference, yes.
It feels like he's traced a blowjob face and then just done the eyes from somewhere else because it's meant to look shocked.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. It depends what porn he's watching.
I suppose, yeah. Maybe someone's, I don't know, electrocuting her to the waist down or something at the same time. I don't know. Yeah. So, then, the fight keeps going. I wish they played more with the location of the fight, because they mentioned, Mysterio comes from like a movie prop background, and at one point Spider-Man tries to jump out of a window, and it turns out it's just a wall because it's like a movie set.
Yeah,
thing.
And then it's like, never mind, I'll go through the actual wall.
Yeah, I wish they'd played with that a little bit more, because that seems fun. Aunt May talks to Felicia for a little bit, and is all happy that he's got a girlfriend. But that's basically it. Mysterio's got a master plan at the end, which is leading into the next, because he sees the symbiote suit. He sees it sort of in action, and is like, oh, there's something to it. Which I'm glad, because up until this point I feel like, is the symbiote even important to the story? Because it's called Symbiote Spider-Man. It feels like so far it's not actually relevant.
Doesn't really matter. Yeah, because obviously Felicia's not happy about it.
Yeah,
but I mean, it doesn't really matter. That's just scene dressing more than anything at this point.
Yeah, but at the end, it seems like the plot's going to be that Mysterio tries to use it or manipulate it or do something with it. So
yeah,
fair enough, I guess, in that sense. Yeah. So, did you like it?
Not really. I mean, the writing is fine. It's far from Peter David's best work.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, Peter David's dependable, so yeah, the dialogue's fine. Like there's some,
even him at his worst is still like, I mean, it's fine, right?
There's some witty lines here or there. The art is
terrible, and ultimately, I just didn't give a shit about anything by the end.
Felicia, more like fellatio. Anyway,
you thought about that about 10 seconds ago, and you've been waiting for a time to pop it in, haven't you?
Sometimes the stars just align, okay? Sometimes they just align. Yeah, the art's really bad.
I wonder if let's say we'd read, a lot of this period of comics in general, would we care any more about this? Would it play any better? Would it have like a nostalgia factor?
In fact, one of my problems just early on in the book, as I was reading it and I was going, well, clearly this isn't going to be dealing with the true story of the symbiote in the sense of the important beats where
because they did that.
He finally gets rid of it, or the story where he learns that he should get rid of it, like, because that was the main story for periods of time, at the time. So this has to be some kind of side story that just kind of slots into that, and by its nature, I'm like, well, why does this exist then? What's the reason for this existing now? And I don't really have an answer. I mean, if someone had a great idea, then fine, but the art's too bad for me to care anyway.
Yes.
So.
This is where I pull out my usual money is the answer.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can say money is the answer, but why this specifically now? Like, why?
I don't know.
Why symbiote? I mean, it made sense maybe when Venom was coming out, the movie. I'll do a symbiote Spider-Man story then. Maybe
it would have. Yeah, I don't know. Is the real answer?
But this is random as shit. Like, sure, it might make money, but that's like me saying, you know what? RoboCop was really successful. I'm going to do a RoboCop comic.
It'd probably sell.
It probably would, but like, why now? Why specifically right now would that be an idea?
I don't know. I don't know. Just it's in the zeitgeist.
I mean, the sequel's coming. It's relatively soon, I suppose. But I mean, so that wasn't the best example, but it was the first thing I thought of from the 80s.
I'm with you. I got your point.
What are you rating it?
4.5.
I'll give it a straight 5. It's because the writing's fine. It's fine.
The writing is fine. It's the art that's dragging it down, but it's not like outright bad, which is like a 4 or lower. 4.5 is like it's not even mediocre. It's below average, but it's not bad yet.
Okay. But that takes us on to another Spider-Man bit. We got Amazing Spider-Man issue 19, which of course is written by Nick Spencer with art by, is that Rafa Sandoval?
Different Sandoval.
Different Sandoval. You're right.
Gerardo.
Gerardo? Yeah, Gerardo Sandoval. Why are they so inconsistent? Because like the last book had the full names in the front cover. This one didn't, and I took a stab.
You saw Sandoval, you thought, oh, I recognise that name.
I'll take a stab. Yeah.
Must be a common name.
So Black Cat is trying to help Lizard Kid, and does so by getting the Siberian tiger to maul the guard. So she's well intentioned, but definitely a little bit in the dark side in terms of execution.
Yes.
And it definitely was an execution.
Literal, yes.
Yeah.
Hey, it worked, didn't it?
Craven's son wants to just go and hunt Spider-Man and and Craven's like, no, now's not it, because he's basically pissed. Like, why are you giving all these yuppies like the right to actually perform
all this? This should be our moment. And Craven's like, no, I got a plan. Just stick with it.
The bulk of the issue, the main thing is that Spider-Man like sort of finds the villains. He sort of follows a trail, and the villains led by
he finds Gibbon's dead body. So I guess that's what happened in that HU issue.
I assume it's different from what Vulture says when he's telling the group of villains, because he makes it sound to be this, Vulture, make sure you do this. He makes it this kind of heroic death that makes Vulture look really good.
Yeah. It's almost certainly not what happened.
But Vulture basically is rallying all the villains to work as a team because they're being hunted. And then Spider-Man jumps in and is like, yeah, like right now I'm not really here for you guys. As much as I hate you all and you hate me, like that's
we got bigger problems.
Yeah, let's maybe try and solve this. Rhino brought up the fact that he left him to die or get kidnapped because he went to help Aunt May instead. It was a nice callback to that scene. Yeah, so I can take that.
Things are moving along. Beats are happening.
Yeah. And then we have the real Lizard is brought in by Taskmaster, so he ain't going to. I almost wonder if he intentionally wanted caught because he knew his son was
quite possibly
captured. Yeah. Very curious about that. It's a nice full page spread actually of Lizard behind Taskmaster's.
The art's, it's not the best art that this book's had, but it's all right.
Yeah, that's solid. Like, it was definitely. I mean, last issue I think I was complaining about Spider-Man's posture like constantly.
Yeah, I didn't have any of those problems in this.
No, there's a couple of stylized ones. Like the page after that, there's a panel of Spider-Man doing his web slinging, and it's a very like stylized kind of pose. But he's but
there's one of them nearer the start. A couple of pages after he finds Gibbon's body, the bottom he has one of them. I'll be honest, I think it's just because it just goes in that suit, doesn't it? It looks like a pose from that time. It's like, okay, yeah, let's just do that because he's in that suit.
Yeah, I don't mind this one actually. Even though technically it is a bit wonky, it just feels like it's intentionally stylized as opposed to,
It doesn't feel anatomically incorrect.
Yes, quite right. So, yeah, Spider-Man's attacked by one of the thingamajigs, one of the Craven bots that's being controlled by the rich guys. But the issue ends with Black Ant showing up and being like, hey, there's more going on here. I need to tell you something about this place. And Spider-Man just kind of slowly putting together, hey, wait, why are you in here with all of us? You're helping everyone get kidnapped. So obviously we know that he eventually got double-crossed by Taskmaster. So that's the plot of the issue. Everything kind of moves along a little bit. It sets up that the villains are taking some proactive moves to try and defend themselves, which I think makes sense, and I think it's an interesting plot beat. I'm liking Black Cat kind of doing like her anti-hero sort of antics with a kid.
Sure, yeah. I think ultimately I feel it's a very average issue. Like, it does what it has to do for the plot, but I didn't really care about anything that was happening.
I think it's fine issue. Like, I enjoyed reading it well enough. What happens makes sense. I will say, like, given like I was kind of hyped for this story arc because it was been built up quite heavily, but
it's been a bit disappointing, hasn't it?
I feel like the build up was actually better than the actual story so far.
No, I'm with you. Pretty sure the next HU issue is the Lizard one, so it'll probably show us the story of how he got captured and whether or not it was intentional.
We'll see how busy I am that week if I read it or not. That sounds more relevant. That sounds. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure Gibbon. Yes, it kind of played into like what Vulture was doing this issue, but I don't care enough about the Gibbon to want to read a Gibbon thing. I never heard of the Gibbon before that issue. Whereas Lizard, I know Lizard, we've had time where he's been concerned about his kid. There's some grounding in the run so far for why it might be relevant and interesting.
I'm with you on that. I get that feels maybe the most relevant out of all of them, if there is any of them that needs to be read.
And Black Cat with the kid is coming into play here now as well. So we've had if you've read that HU issue, you've had that relationship established a bit more. So there's definitely things going on that make sense. But yeah, that was a bit of Spider-Man issue 19. The arc's fine.
Yeah, and I think I'll be typified in my rating because I'm giving it just a 6. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. Yes. I'll up you a little bit. I'll say 6.5. I think. Like I like generally what it's doing, even if it's not being super exciting while it does it. So I can't say it's good outright and say 7, but like I'm liking essentially what the plot developments are doing. I just I want to see what they do. Like I hope like the villains all teaming up and them forming some kind of like alliance leads to some fun plot in the next issue or beyond. So here's hoping. Here's hoping.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a bit of a spark to this arc.
So that'll take us on then to Captain Marvel issue 4. This is Kelly Thompson writing with Carmen Carnero on the art. We are of course still in the bubble with the post-apocalyptic world, Nuclear Man, not to be confused with Superman 4, A Quest for Peace, Nuclear Man.
Are you going to say that every issue?
I am going to say that every issue because every time I say it, it makes me think of it and I have a little internal giggle and I have to
alright, I'll
tell you about it.
It is a little bit funny.
So Rogue was the big cliffhanger. Rogue's there and she's got a collar around her neck. She's seemingly being controlled by Nuclear Man and is trying to fight it, or at least we find that out eventually. But this is obviously a big deal for Carol. She's fighting her. Half of her hair seems to go. Or did she cut her hair last issue? I don't think she did.
I don't recall it, but this opens with the hair already cut.
Yeah, like half of her hair's like shaved off. It's weird. But she barely survives this attack. She's so weak. And Nuclear Man comes sauntering in, and she's determined to not show how weak she feels right now. But he can kind of tell. He can kind of tell that she's weaker. So it all builds up to him putting them into an arena because he wants his potential bride to prove herself worthy. And if she loses, then pick Rogue instead, because then Rogue's a fitting bride.
It's a solid plan. It actually made me think. Rogue with the collar. Are they somehow using her power? Is that why a lot of people's powers aren't working? They've kind of drained them through Rogue.
I could see that. Yeah, it could be using Rogue. It does point out. It points out that this takes place after issue 10 of Mr. and Mrs. X. It made a point of saying that.
Yeah.
So, Som tells the other girls about everything that's going on, and they're like, okay, we start to go through with this plan. So they split into teams. They kind of shuffle things around because Carol's not involved. So the issue is actually quite straightforward in the sense that a lot of it is the two big fights between Rogue and Carol, but the second fight, of course, she realizes that Rogue's trying to fight whatever's going on, so she's like, hey, absorb me, even though she's terrified of being absorbed by Rogue again. Absorb me, but this time let me take over, like let me be in charge once you've absorbed me.
Because I know how to use my powers, remember?
Yeah. And sure enough, that's what happens. Rogue lets her, absorbs her, but then lets her take control. So we have the various teams from the good guys kind of sneaking in. A couple of them are on foot, one's in the tunnels, one's up top, and then we've got the flying crew coming in, and we end the issue with like Rogue or Carol in Rogue with full powers.
Yes.
Full supernova flying through the skies, and
I love that panel of her crashing up through the roof and just has the big boom effect.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But the big cliffhanger at the end, though, is that Nuclear Man's like, hey, like this was kind of all intentional. Like, you haven't even found my bomb yet. This was a trap. He lured all the resistance to the place.
Into one place, yeah.
So that he could blow them up. So that's the issue. It's a fairly straightforward issue in terms of, like, events.
Progression is very little.
Yeah.
Really. It has the one big thing. But the flow is excellent.
it wants to focus mainly on just the inner turmoil for Carol about dealing with Rogue again, and the potential of letting her be taken over and letting her be absorbed. Like, that's kind of the big crux of the issue here. That's kind of what's the driving force behind it. And I think in sense that it probably should have that much time given to it, given like as much as we've not read like Miss Marvel from like the old days and all that stuff. It seems like this is kind of one of the most pivotal moments in Carol's like career that this happened.
Yeah. So we keep hearing about it. It's obviously a big deal.
So it should maybe have a whole issue to really just let the fear of this happening again like hit us.
Yeah.
So I can't really complain about it. The art's very good again. Carnero.
It is. Yeah, it's been very consistent, hasn't it?
Yeah. Fighting looks pretty good. I kind of like the reaction of all the other ladies when Som's telling them all this when they find out about the arena and have her having to prove herself, and they're just kind of like disgusted. Like,
yeah,
it kind of just it all added to like the build up, because he builds up to that, and then we turn the page and it's like this 2-page layout of the big arena, and presumably all the men he's got captive in the crowd watching this fight take place.
Yeah, I thought so. It's a great 2-page spread. That very first panel, the top smaller panel of the punch, is one of the best panels in the issue.
Oh, that's very good. No, Big's been very consistent. This is probably the least I've had to say about any of the issues, just because it's just continuing.
This is the one that is the next part, right? In terms of progression, it's got a fair chunk of stuff for Carol herself, but for everyone else, they're just getting on with it.
It's not like last issue, where last issue had the big montage page of like them like building planes and Flight of the Phoenix and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, we have them flying the planes this issue, they look great.
Yeah.
And that's not to say there's anything wrong with this issue. It's very much just the next part. But it's clearly heading into the end game of this first part of the story.
Yeah. So what are you rating it?
I'm giving it a 7.5. It's real good.
I will concur with the 7.5. So that will take us on, though, to Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue 4, which, of course, has our main man, Tom Taylor, writing it, with, I need the first name, Yıldıray as the artist.
I will take your word for it.
I was like, damn it, his first name's not on the cover. I need to quickly get to the thing. So we had the last issue. May was about to tell Peter about her illness, about her cancer, and this issue kind of starts with him just sort of in shock of hearing about this.
I think that's probably my biggest disappointment with this issue, is that we don't see any of the conversation.
You wanted the actual conversation. Okay.
I wanted to get some of the way of it, because we know Taylor can handle an extended conversation about something emotional. I feel like that could have been one of the most compelling things this book yet, and I feel a little bit robbed for having skipped over it.
Do you know what I think is actually really impressive though here is that when Peter says when she asks him to go to chemotherapy with her because it's her first day tomorrow, he makes an excuse and says, "Oh, I've
got a lot going on.
I got a lot going on right now." He basically makes an excuse, and it actually kind of hit me. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I actually felt really bad. I was like, Peter, you're being kind of a shithead right now.
It's a bit of a dick move.
That's a proper dick move. And obviously, the whole arc of the issue is at the end. The issue ends with him showing up because he realizes he's been a dick and he's just running from it because he can't deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And I actually really like the story that leads up to that, where he's out on patrol and there's this police chasing this car, and this homeless kid's stolen a car, and it turns out to be like his mum's like new boyfriend or whatever, some asshole. And Spider-Man deals with the situation, but he grabs his wrist a bit too tight and breaks his hand, and he immediately feels guilty. He's like, that's not me. Like, I just broke this kid.
Yeah, my bad. Right, Doctor Strange.
Yeah, he's like,
that's the answer to this.
He's like, we need to go to a doctor's, and this is to be kind of on the down low. So he actually gets back in the car and actually drives the car with the kid in the passenger seat. So he essentially helps him steal the car.
Yeah.
A feat which is brought up many a time by the kid as he's trying to, basically.
Yes, and he refuses to speed. He's like, look, I'm not breaking the law. And the kid's like, I mean, you are helping me steal a car. It's like, forget it.
The kids just try to process the surreal nature of what's happening, what's transpiring right now.
It is pretty surreal.
And eventually has to use his web powers to launch his car into the air. I question the physics of this just a little bit, but
no, I don't. Let's say the car's doing 50. And he's, you're pulling it up. The momentum will just carry it up.
It's more the angle, I guess. Like I feel like you would hit the building that you're webbed to, I guess is what I'm saying.
Depends what building it was hitting, I suppose. Yeah.
Whereas the impression on the panels is that it kind of goes straight up and then it lets go and it just kind of flies past the moon, kind of ET style.
Yeah, it does go pretty high up. I mean, I suppose it depends what he's hooked onto above that from the web.
I feel like the car would constantly be swinging towards whatever it's hooked to because of the weight.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
but I'm not gonna. This is like a nitpick. I'm not really caring that much.
Yeah.
Because it is fun that he's got the car webbed up between the buildings and so he takes him to Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange patches him up, and he even tries to ask him about curing Aunt May, and he's like, "Hey, some things are beyond magic or medicine. You just have to face it." And he's been running from it, so we end with he's here at the hospital. Aunt May, that even though he was coming, and he's like, "Where else would I be?" Heartwarming finish, straightforward.
Yeah.
Straightforward.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Feel good, gut punch, but feel good ultimately at the end. That's the issue. No, I mean I liked the issue. I thought it probably maybe the best of the book so far, just because it is such a personal issue as opposed to the Under York and all that crazy zany shit.
Yeah, I definitely prefer this approach. How did you feel about the art? That's the first time I've had a different artist on the book.
That was pretty good. Maybe some of the faces here or there, like maybe Peter at the start felt a little bit off.
Yeah. It felt like it was quite good art. It was a bit of a shift. It's quite scratchy and inky and shadowy.
I think it worked best when he was Spider-Man, when he was in costume and he was, either swinging, jumping in cars, all that stuff.
I agree.
Best.
No, I agree. I feel like tonally it was a bit of a shift from what we have had, where it's been very clean and bright.
Yeah.
This felt very different.
But then he's in a darker place this issue, so thematically it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I get that. The very final panel, it really looks like Tom Holland. Like, really does look like it.
How intentional do you think that is?
I don't know, because he doesn't in any other panel.
Yes. Could just be a happy coincidence that he happens to look like the actor playing Spider-Man right now.
Yeah.
I know. Tony, I don't feel so good. Or Mr. Stark. He says Mr. Stark, right? He must do.
I don't know. Do you think I can remember?
He must say Mr. Stark. I watched it last week.
What's your excuse then?
I don't know. It's a minor detail.
Minor detail. One of the most quoted and memorable lines of the movie.
Come on, it's no get this man a shield or why was she up there this whole time?
I don't know. The memes kind of outdid it.
Or I'm mastering the art of invisibility. I am standing so still and moving so slowly that you cannot perceive me.
Look, we're not here to debate the good lines of the movie. That's not what we're here for.
I'm one of the Avengers, like Kevin Bacon.
Are we done?
Yeah, we're done. That's a really good callback to that first Guardians movie. I'm one of Earth's mightiest heroes, like Kevin Bacon.
Probably the best moment of the movie, isn't it?
I don't know. No. I'll do you one better. What is Gamora? Or why is Gamora? That was a good line. Drax has got all the best lines.
Drax is pretty good.
Drax has all the best lines. I'll tell you right now, Rocket's stealing the show in Endgame. I'm calling it. Rocket is stealing that movie.
You reckon?
I think Rocket's stealing it. Anyway.
Need to rate it.
We need to rate Spider-Man Friendly Neighborhoods. What you giving it?
I'm also going to give this a 7.5. I think I like it's focused. I think the art a little bit hit or miss.
I'm going to give it an 8. My reason for going a little bit higher is that I actually really felt like the sting of him lying to Aunt May at the start, but then the sting of him like hurting someone who is a criminal or is doing criminal activity, but is not exactly like, he's not Kingpin. It's not some mass murderer. It's just some kid who's stolen a car and he's like snapped his wrist. It feels really like, you went too far there. And I can't
argue with that.
I like that stuff. So Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, 8 out of 10 for me. Alright, so that'll bring an end to the first half of this week's show. This is the end of 15A. So if you want to let us know what you thought about those comic books that we talked about in the comments, you can do that. You can like and subscribe, all those things. All those stuff help us out. Coming up in the next half, though, we should have the Marvel solicits at the very least for the month of July. For in the news section, we should also have Winter Soldier #5. We have 2 Star Wars Is it Rebellion or Republic? What are we on now?
We're on Rebellion now.
Rebellion, because I abbreviated it in my list. So there's 2 of those, and then Ronin Island issue 2 for sure. So we'll have those books plus at least Marvel solicits in the second half.
And even if the Marvel solicits don't show up for whatever reason, there is news still anyway.
I'll take your word for it. I've not been paying attention as of yet.
There is.
But yeah, so that's coming up in the second half. So yeah, let us know what you think. If you want to support the show, or if you want to support everything else we do on the channel, comic shows, movie shows, whatever it may be, you can support us over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. We can do that for as little as $1 per month. You get some bonuses, you get some stuff early, but mostly you get a warm fuzzy feeling, a mildly fuzzy feeling you might say, in the pit of your stomach for supporting your favourite podcasters. Ding.
Does it have to be in the stomach?
Okay, in your crotch. That's even better.
It is.
So you go do that. You can buy merchandise on our Spreadshirt stores. We have a US one and a UK one. They're both descriptions, or the link to both are in the description, so you can check out that. But that's been the first half. So obviously we'll rank the books and pick our best of the week at the end of part 2. But that has been part 1. So thank you very much for watching or listening once again. We always appreciate it. Keep reading comics. Keep reading Marvel comics. But remember that assembly is required.